Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. Our first letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my daughter it's her fault that the babysitter quit?" I have 3 kids, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and nearly a year old. When I was pregnant with my youngest, I hired a sitter to pick the other 2 up from school and to watch them. We really liked her and I appreciated her. My eldest loved her babysitter, but she began to develop a huge attitude. I know one of her friends has a nanny she's basically allowed to boss around with little consequence. We told my daughter that her sitter is in charge and she needs to respect her, not demand things of her. A few months ago, the sitter asked my daughter to grab the baby's diaper bag, and my daughter sassed back saying, "You can't tell me what to do, I'm the boss of you." The sitter told me that night and I immediately addressed it. In front of the sitter, I told my daughter that this was not acceptable. She was not the boss of anyone, and I took away her TV privileges for a week. It happened again just a month later, and I had a much sterner talk with her. I took away even more privileges. Both times, I made her verbally apologize and write a note of apology to her sitter. The sitter accepted it, but I could tell that she was losing patience. I didn't blame her, and I ended up giving her a raise out of guilt. I also stopped arranging playdates for her and the friend who treated her nanny terribly. They don't go to the same school, so they don't see each other at all anymore. I'll add, I did try to talk with my daughter calmly and ask her why she felt this was okay. She'd say, "We pay her, I'm her boss." And I said, "No, that's not true. I said she is hired to take care of her and she deserves respect." My daughter would always seem to understand. Well, things came to a head a few weeks ago. My daughter was acting up. The sitter tried several de-escalation tactics, but finally told her that she's going to have to go to her room for some quiet time. My daughter screamed in her face, "I'm the boss of you. I'll get you fired." The sitter calmly picked up the phone and called me. We have cameras in our house, which she knew about, and told me to come home immediately. Upon arrival, she quit. Nothing I said or did could make her stay, and I understood. I was furious with my daughter, and I let her have it. She had several things taken away from her, and she didn't do anything remotely fun until recently. This whole thing has left us in a bind. Luckily, the school that my younger 2 go to is open later, so I can pick them up when I get off work. I've been scrambling to find a new sitter, but in the meantime, I got my daughter into an after-school program. Because there's no more sitter, there's no one to take her to her swim class. She's been complaining that she can't do it anymore, and I told her that it's her own fault. She is why the sitter quit, and until I can find someone new, she won't get to do fun activities that her sitter took her to. My husband agrees that there's nothing we can do, but thinks I was far too harsh with our daughter. He's saying that she's only 6. Am I the jerk? Alright, OP, I just want to say, I think that you're in the right here. I don't think that you're a jerk. I think your daughter needs to understand the consequences of her actions, and it's good that you're trying to prevent her from becoming an entitled little brat. And hopefully, in the future, she is able to kind of wrap her head around the consequences of her actions. That these people who are taking care of her aren't disposable, and that just because you pay someone for their work doesn't mean that you get to degrade them or tell them what to do or any number of things. So hopefully she's come to learn a valuable lesson, and in the future, maybe she'll not do this with the future sitters. Not the jerk, her actions impacted someone enough to make them quit a job they were being paid to do. She has soiled her reputation, as word spreads fast in the babysitter community if a child treats their caregiver like that. I imagine that this wasn't 3 isolated events, but more like it was happening way more frequently. But those 3 times were when the babysitter was at her last straw. The consequences before didn't work, and now the impact of her actions is bothering her. She is old enough to know that her actions had consequences, and this is why she can't go to her fun activities. I think we all need to pause and appreciate a 6-year-old's lack of foresight too. Who did she think would drive her to her swim practice even if she had been the boss and got the sitter fired, rather than her quitting? A 6-year-old got a great lesson in natural consequences with a side lesson in thinking the problem all the way through. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Friend That I Have a Hard Time Feeling Sympathy Over a Situation? So, my friend married into a rich family, like millionaire rich. His wife has a decent job as a psychologist, and he only works part-time and gives him something to do during the week. His wife's family has paid for everything for my friend and for his wife, from their cars to their house to all the renovations they did. They were also gifted $30,000 when they got married, which, for reference, is about what I make in a year while in a university, and they spent it on a home theater system in less than a month. My friend and his wife ended up getting into a massive fight with his in-laws a while back, and they've been cut off as a result. Turns out neither of them have any money saved up, and they've been spending their paychecks on toys for their house, but now they need to live as normal people and pay their bills. My friend was complaining that he needs to sell his drones as well as he needs to get a full-time job or else they'll lose their home. I asked him why his wife, who has a good paying job, didn't have any money saved away, and his answer was that they thought they wouldn't need to save money, as they would end up with their parents' inheritance anyways. And in the meantime, they were fine with the money her family was lending her. He got mad at me for not being as upset as he was, but I explained to him that I found it hard to sympathize with him as they created all these problems for themselves, and they should have had some kind of safety net. Alright, OP, no, I don't think you're the jerk here. Your friend got a valuable life lesson today. I think that's the theme of today's story so far, is that actions have consequences, and there was a consequence to them not saving their money, and then, when they got cut off, they just didn't have the money anymore. I mean, it seems like they must have been getting quite a bit of money from this, family, from his in-laws. In that case, you think that they would have treaded a little more lightly if all of their eggs were in this basket. Like, if all of your eggs are in a single basket, then you better treat that basket pretty good. That's my opinion. So, I don't know. I just, I don't know what their fight was about, but something tells me that they ended up with the short end of the stick. So, yeah. I think the reasonable thing was for them to save money. They should have had some money saved aside for an emergency. I mean, what happens if they didn't inherit that money? Like, where would they be in that case? It's always good to not necessarily rely on money that you don't have in hand. Not the jerk, you aren't wrong. That's spoiled entitlement on their part. Sad, I agree. No sympathy from me either. Yeah, it's actually really hard to feel sympathy for someone who has so much money, or had so much money, and now has to live and work a normal job. Oh, how horrible it is to be a normie like everyone else. I'm no longer in the 1%. Yeah, I mean, we all work, almost all of us, and we all have hard lives, and I guess maybe they'll realize what it's like to actually live and, work and whatnot. We have no saving because we just assumed that we could both mooch off of our in-laws until they died and we inherited their estate. It's not really mooching if it's going to be our money anyways, right? I now have to grow up and be an adult. Why don't you pity me? The sheer arrogance of people so entitled they expect sympathy because their meal ticket was taken away after they decided to bite the literal hand that feeds them baffles me. Hard to accept that there are people out there this out of touch with reality. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty good. All right. Our final letter of the evening is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Girlfriend, who just left rehab, that I won't have fun watching one of her favorite movies together. My girlfriend was in rehab for a couple of weeks and just left a couple of days ago. We've been spending the vast majority of our time together. We missed each other while she was in rehab. And she said she wants to watch one of her favorite movies together, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I said I would watch it with her despite the fact that I am not a fan of these movies. I told her that I would derive satisfaction from seeing her watch one of her favorite movies, and that it is overall an experience that I won't regret. I told her that I want to do something that will make her happy, even if I won't personally have an amazing time. However, this upset her, because I told her that although the vast majority of the experience won't be that fun for me, it will still be worth the moments that I get to see her happy. She said that because she just left rehab, I shouldn't take her return for granted, and that I should consider it a fun experience to watch any movie with her, even if it's a movie that I don't personally like. Am I a jerk for saying that I wouldn't describe the experience as fun? OP. There is a time and a place for everything. Unsolicited, I'm not going to have fun, but I'll have fun right after your partner gets out of rehab is not the time to do that. Look, you don't need to have some kind of great heroics to prove your love for your partner. And while, it sounds like you are willing to do stuff for your partner here. And it sounds like you're willing to that you derive a lot of enjoyment out of seeing your partner happy, which I think is great. But you don't need to rub it in. Every single time, this was unsolicited, it sounds like. It doesn't sound like she was like, oh, hey, hon, are you going to enjoy this? And you were like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to enjoy this at all. It was more like, she was like, hey, will you watch my favorite movie with me? And then you were like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I won't enjoy it. But I'll enjoy watching you watch it. It was just completely unnecessary. I'm sure the way this is written that you've told them before that you don't necessarily enjoy these types of movies, so it just probably was excessive on top of that. So, yeah. Hopefully your partner does well. Hopefully they continue to grow and get stronger and are able to stay out of rehab. You're the jerk. You're making such a big deal out about how much it's not going to be fun. But you'll power through anyways, and it's pretty patronizing. You are looking for an extra special kudos for watching a movie with your girlfriend. So now she couldn't enjoy it because you have made it this weird thing. If you don't want to watch a movie, say no or suggest a different one. If you want to watch it with her, say yes. No qualification. Yeah, exactly. There's no qualification needed here. I think that says it about all. This, I don't know if it's intentional or some misguided, brutal honesty thing, or really poor social skills, but that extra stuff was unnecessary and causes more harm than good. Yeah. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. But those 3 times were when the babysitter lost her straw.